Hi, I'm Steve Nash.
And I'm Felicia, and this is our review of...
Bloodsuckers.
She kind of looks like Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit.
In Bloodsuckers, players are trying to control the town of Blackwood. In the box, you'll find the city board with each of its buildings and dials. These dials will tell you how many civilians are in the building, the status of the building, or if the building is locked. A foldable playing mat where most of the game takes place, hunter cards which give you special actions and abilities, character cards which are civilians, hunters, and vampires, action tokens to keep track of actions you have left, hunter attack tokens and vampire attack tokens to keep track of attack values, red blood tokens which are used to do special vampire abilities, yellow adrenaline tokens which are used to do hunter abilities, and awesome summary cards which explain the turns and special abilities of each character.
Here's how to set up the game. Each player will choose whether they are playing the hunters or the vampires. On the city board, decide how many buildings you want to fight for. More for a longer game and less for a shorter game. The buildings you do not want to play with are locked. The others are on the civilian slot, telling you how many people are in there. Place the playing mat in the center of the table. The hunters have one side and the vampires have the other. Shuffle both decks and each player draws 5 cards. Give each side of the summary cards and give 1 blood token to the vampire and 1 adrenaline token to the hunters. They also get 3 characters each from the character deck. Finally, determine which side goes first by rolling the die. On the board there is also a turn order dial. If the vampires start, turn it to dusk. If the hunters go first, turn it to dawn. Between each turn, the dial will turn, which will tell you which hunters or which vampires' turn it is. Choose a building and move that dial to the battle slot, which means this is the building you are fighting for. If you choose the police station, for example, you will place 3 characters from the character deck into the playing area. You're now ready to fight for those civilians.
Here's what you will do on your turn. First, you can do 3 actions. You can use a combat card, move a character, draw a card, play a token from your summary card, or bank your actions to use them in a later turn. Once you've done 3 of those actions, you will go to step 2, which is to discard cards and draw cards. In step 3, you unstun any characters that were stunned on your team. And finally, you turn the dial to see who goes next.
In the first step, which is to do 3 actions, you're moving your team into place, playing attack cards to increase your attack value on that character. You can also play strike cards against your opponent's team, but they might be holding a dodge card which can make the attack useless. And finally, impact cards which modify attack values. You're basically trying to have more attack value than your opponent on most of the characters on the board. Also, when deciding which character you want to win, you can see which ability they will have once they are on your team, whether a hunter or a vampire. As players are playing cards, moving characters, and doing actions, the attack values in each column changes. Once the turn dial did a full circle, the battle ends and you determine who won the battles in each column. The player with the most attack value in each column wins that character and joins that team. The player who won the most characters in that building controls that area. So if the hunters won 2 of the 3 civilians there, then turn the dial to the hunter's logo. In a tie, the building is locked.
Next, choose the building to fight and repeat this process until all the buildings either are locked or have a team logo. The player with the most control over Blackwood wins the game. You can also play in teams of 2, which makes the game more interesting. Some of the cards have different attack values depending on whether the turn is in daylight or moonlight. Some attacks are also rolled on a die, and most of them also have a secondary effect. Don't forget that each of your characters have a special ability.
The game is okay. It has some really nice mechanics and the player interaction is good. The production quality is nice, but the playmat should have been a board instead of paper. The rulebook needs some work and you'll be asking a lot of questions during your first game. There is, however, a good 2-player sample turn in the book and it has some pretty good examples. We also found that the team who is going last has a huge advantage, because you can just make sure to play all the attacks perfectly to win each column. However, they balanced it by making the other team get 2 turns in a row, but still, it's not enough. If you're into the genre and like to play vampire games, you might like this one since it's easy to teach and can be played pretty quickly. The artwork is alright and it's a good mix of both a card game and a board game at the same time. The game is good for the vampire game lovers only though. We're giving Bloodsuckers a mere 6 out of 10.